Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. We'll continue going through the Mangala Sutta that's in the Sutta Nipata in the Pali Canon. And this is a conversation that the Buddha has with a deva, where the deva comes and asks. Devas are concerned for happiness. They ever long for peace. The same is true of humankind. What then are the highest happinesses, the highest blessings? And the Buddha goes on to describe a good life, a life well lived. And the bulk of what he shares is really describing a lay life. It's talking about family, it's talking about work, it's talking about children, relationships, and ethics, a lot about ethics and qualities of the heart that are conducive to happiness. And there's a way to really look at the sutta and map it onto the Eightfold Noble Path. And we've starting just like the Eightfold Noble Path with right view and knowing what is of value and knowing what to honor and being surrounded by enough wise association and right intention, setting oneself on the right course in the right direction, and then right speech, right livelihood, right action, what we talked about last week. And this week is a lot about right effort. And it's interesting as I continue to read this sutta and sit with it, it becomes really apparent that the Buddha, so much of the Buddha's teachings and so much of spiritual practice has all of these feedback loops embedded in it. And this is another one where the what the Buddha is pointing us to and highlighting and showing us the sources of happiness, they also are the results of happiness. And so it becomes this virtuous cycle, like, and it's lovely to realize, oh, this sutta, there's it's all about our inner life. I mean, there's aspects of the external, but it's all our relating to it, all qualities of the heart. And this becomes really apparent in these two verses that we're going to look at today, which are, and I'm using, for the most part, I'm using Ajahn Sujato's translation, very slightly different than what we chanted. What we chanted today comes from the Amaravati chant book, and I can't figure out who the translator is. So today we'll look at right effort, respect and humility, contentment and gratitude, and the timely listening to the teaching. This is the first verse. Respect and humility, contentment and gratitude, and the timely listening to the teachings. And these first two lines, respect and humility and contentment and gratitude, really are pairs. They come together. Respect is connected to humility, and humility is connected to respect. And again, there's a like tiny little feedback loop that they scaffold one another, they support one another. And when you think about respect and humility, contentment and gratitude, well, that's somebody I would want to be friends with. That's someone I want to live with. That's someone I'd want to hang out with. That's someone who feels well in themselves. They feel okay. They've got well-being. They're good enough, content, gratitude, respect, and humility. Uh, there's so much these days about, uh, inclusion and about sensitivity and trauma informed. This is respect and humility. And I'm going to go at it a slightly different way. And that is talking about something that facilitates humility. And that is listening. It's very interesting. I'm reading this book right now called Hello, Cruel World, Raising Terrific Kids in Terrifying Times. And it's all science-based. It's new this year. And the writer, Melanie Wenner Moyer, is a science writer, and she's also a parent. And it's all based on the most current research. And there's 11 topics that she covers that are like essential about social media, about money, about self-esteem, self-compassion, friendship, loneliness, uh, workload, workload of these little kids, their scheduledness, all based on research. Is a very, very good book. Her first book was How to Raise Kids That Aren't Assholes. This is a big interest of hers. And what's fascinating at the end of the book, she says, it could feel daunting, and it's not. Like, actually, all of the science, all of the research studies are kind of pointing to these overarching themes. And a big one is listening. And the research shows that when people feel listened to, that they become more self-reflective and humble. And they're far less inclined to gravitate towards extreme beliefs. And I think how this lands for us is to really understand our meditation practice as that. We're learning to listen deeply to ourselves, to what is in there. And the more that we can really listen, and true listening, true listening is so open, it's so receptive, it's so uncontrolling. And there's a word we could use, when we're meditating and something is there that's you know could, without us being mindful and without enough skill, give rise to aversion. Some difficult memory, some difficult body sensation, some some hint of disappointment or lack of hope. These flavors, they pass through, and we can just pop in the word welcome. Welcome. This is our meditation practice. It's not about getting something, having some experience. It's about deeply listening to our own hearts, to our own experience, to our own lives, like truly becoming our own best friend. And when we do this, it's conducive of humility, because everything's more accurate, everything's more real. It's not a house of cards, and all of our controlling mechanisms and all of our manipulation and all of our self-protective patterns can be softened and can start to loosen their grip. by deeply listening and accepting whatever's there. And then and then and then you get to roll up your sleeves and um, learn learn how to do things um, in a more peaceful, harmonious, careful, skillful, wise way. So this listening and it is a huge sign of respect to truly listen and just accept. And we can practice this in our relationships too. You know, we all can become better listeners. Very quick strategies. How do you do that? And you can be doing it in your meditation, just this quality of welcome, relaxed, receptive acceptance. Welcome. And so in our relationships, we can just start to practice listening. And so when someone shares something, just determine that you're going to maybe reframe it, like say it in your own words. So what I'm hearing is, or I think what you're trying to tell me is, so that you really are hearing, and then you give them the opportunity to uh, say, yeah, that's mostly it, and then add on and clarify. Another thing that we can do is practice just asking a question, asking a follow-up question before we launch into, oh yeah, and when that happened to me, blah, blah, blah. This is so common. It just focus back on me, don't just keep it there. And um, my daughter is becoming a psychotherapist and she's in the practicum stage. And it's just so lovely to talk to her because so much is happening for her. And she said it's a couple of clients have reflected back how helpful it's being, and she says I that's that it's surprising to me because I feel like all I'm aware of is how much I don't know and like how new I am at this. But what she does know how to do is be a reflective listener and to just be a loving presence, and that's really what we all need. And that's what we get to do for ourselves in our meditation. Yeah. Contentment and gratitude. Another pair that go together. And it's interesting. Sangamita and I got to have a conversation at one point. Like they seem so related. They almost seem like they overlap, but actually no, they are different. And it was Sangamita. It was like, gratitude is for something kind of specific, and contentment is like just this baseline. It's almost like gratitude could be the foreground and contentment can be the background. So contentment is it's not necessarily for anything specific. It's just this baseline okayness. And it really involves, I think, for me, my experience, it involves me figuring out how to tap into some kind of trust. Trust that I'm okay and that things will be okay. Things are okay. And, there's is it uh, Julian of Julian of Norwich? Is that right? That says all will be well, all is well, and all will be well. And the story is amazing. She's like um, a sequestered, is that the right word? Yeah, sequestered. And in those days, sequestered meant literally they built a tower or they built a room around you, no door, nothing. You can't get out. So yeah, Julian of Norwich just was there, a contemplative, a Christian contemplative. And this is basically what she came to. All is well and all will be well. And she said this during the bubonic plague. All is well, all will be well. And all of the great, great spiritual leaders have this. They have, the world is a complete mess and everything's fine. It's again this paradox, this contentment. It's something the Buddha talks about a lot, a lot, a lot, and that we're actually blessed if we get to hear talk about contentment. And you're certainly not going to hear it in a consumer capitalist culture like that. The advertisements aren't, you look great just the way you are. And they're not, and your clothes are amazing. They're fantastic. Everything is great just the way it is. You will not see commercials like that. We're not getting those messages, but we can from the Buddha's teachings. And we can tap into that feeling. It's so it's a balm. It's a balm for all of us. Good enough. We don't, all this self-improvement and, get better and try harder and do more and you know, it's the opposite. All is well, all will be well. And gratitude, this is actually something we can practice. The Buddha, again, in a couple of suttas, gratitude, it's interesting. I remember coming to the Buddha's teachings and being surprised that gratitude wasn't one of the paramis, and feeling like it's not in the suttas that much, but it is there. And this is one place, contentment and gratitude. And in the numerical discourses in the Book of Twos, Sutta 119, the Buddha says, these two people are rare in the world. What two? One who takes initiative and one who's grateful and thankful. It's rare because it goes against our craving, goes against our selfishness. And also in the Book of Twos, Sutta number 32, he talks about, again, that a person who's with integrity, a person who lives with integrity, gratitude is one of their domains, one of the places that they get to hang out in a lot of gratitude. I know couples that have a gratitude practice that they, as they're going to bed, they sit on the bed and they each share three things that they're grateful for from the day. And I know people that have gratitude journals. It's a very beautiful practice, gratitude. And the last line of this verse is the timely listening to the teaching. Or it could be even the timely hearing of the teaching. And I know for myself, I've shared this before, I heard the Buddhist teachings when I was 17 years old. I heard the Four Noble Truths. I heard the teachings about karma. I was taking a comparative religion class in like grade 11. And I didn't get it. I literally didn't get it. I thought it was crazy. Life is suffering. I totally didn't, I wasn't ready. I didn't have, the phrase would be, I didn't have good enough karma. I didn't. I had to wait another 30 years and suffer endlessly, like sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. And then when I heard the teachings when I was 46, it's like, yeah. And I mean, some others of us will have had that experience, and others of us have, right away, young. We heard them, and it's like, yeah, that speaks to my heart that they had enough. Their eyes were open enough. Their heart was wise enough that, yeah, that's right, and set themselves on the right course. And it's wonderful. They have hopefully so much more time to practice in this life. And the Buddha talks a lot about this listening to the teachings, and there's a way to listen to the teachings. In the connected discourses in book 16, Sutta 11, the Buddha gives instructions about how to be listening to the Dhamma, to the Buddha's teachings. And it's one of these train yourself thus. This is, and it is a training. It's again something we can grow in and we can practice. Train yourself thus. Whenever I listen to any Dhamma teaching connected with the wholesome, I will listen to it with eager ears, attending to it as a matter of vital concern, applying my whole mind to it. It's a matter of vital concern. This is the most important thing I'm going to do this week. Listen to these teachings. It's a lifeline. And then the Buddha talks about this sequence. I talked about feedback loops. Another quality of so many of the teachings is that there's this unfolding. There's this cascade. There's this sequence, trajectory. And there is one for listening to the teachings. And it's this idea of hearing them, listening to them, and then retaining them, hanging on to the parts that go in, like circling back to that, remembering them, retaining them, and examining them, chewing them over. And then as you start to understand, putting it into practice. It's this sequence. There's a community member that new, fairly new to the teachings. And we were having a practice discussion one time, and that the night before, she had woken up in the middle of the night and couldn't remember all of the Brahma Viharas, couldn't remember the loving kindness, sympathy, rejoicing, and equanimity. She could only remember 3. And she had to get up and go online and find out what was the missing one. This is an example of someone that it's going in, and then they're thinking about it, and they're learning it, and putting it into practice. The Buddha talks about this many times, but I'll just read from the Numerical Discourses still, and Guttara, the Book of Fours, Sutta 97. Here, some person is quick in attending to wholesome teachings, is able to retain in mind the teachings that they've heard and examine the meaning of the teachings they have retained. Having understood the meaning and the Dhamma, they practice in accordance with the Dhamma. And lastly, the Buddha, these are just the ones I've picked. There's so many. But in another sutta, still in the Numerical Discourses, the Book of Fives, Sutta 202, the Buddha talks about the benefits that come. And they're mighty, they're high, they're wonderful. When we listen, mendicants, there are these 5 benefits in listening to the Dhamma. What 5? One hears what one's not heard. One clarifies what has been heard. One emerges from perplexity. One straightens out one's view, and one's mind becomes placid, non-agitated. These are the 5 benefits of listening to the Dhamma. And I've had the experience personally, and I've witnessed it. It's very interesting when we listen to the teachings, we tend to hear what we need to hear, and we don't hear what we're not ready for. It's very interesting how that happens. For me, when I started listening to the teachings, all I heard was "Let it be," like for more than a year. And that's exactly what I needed here. Just let it be. Like, stop all of your contorting and your controlling and your managing and your aversion. Just relax, just let it be. Just like finally, like stop and just sort of relax and try and open up. Just let it be. That's all I heard. And then it's like a switch went off. And then all I heard was let it go. Like it really did change. And it was like, oh, I need to do some renunciation. I need to, move on from some things and let things fall away and let it go. But if I'd been hearing let it go, I wasn't ready. I wouldn't have stayed around. Yeah, let it be and then let it go. And you might very well have similar experiences. The next verse I want to look at is being patient and easy to correct, the seeing of monks and nuns, and the timely discussion of the teachings. It's interesting, this sequence. First, we need to hear the teachings. And then after that's been happening, then we need to start discussing them. We need to start engaging with them and bringing them up and talking to people about them. And this beginning of this verse, patience and being easy to correct. The Amaravati translation that we chant each time we're doing this series, it's patience and willingness to accept one's faults. And that's not super accurate to the literal Pali, but there but I can make a case for it, because I think when we are patient and we're accepting our faults, we're accepting our limitations, we're accepting our capacity, we're accepting, our level of experience, we're easy to correct. We're accurate. This being accurate, uh, 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 things aren't inflated or deflated. It's more accurate to where we're really at. And patience, the Buddha holds it up as the highest. It's the highest austerity. It's the highest quality. And Ajahn Chah called it that, like, it's essential. Of any quality, patience is an area for us to actively practice and grow with ourselves and with others, with everything, with computers, speaking to myself. Patience. The seeing of monks and nuns. This is such a beautiful, a beautiful source of happiness, the seeing of monks and nuns. Just seeing that archetype of someone going against the stream, someone wholeheartedly, whole hog, committing themselves to spiritual practice, to a spiritual life. We all need that symbol, that archetype. And there's a beautiful story of these four heavenly messengers. And the first is sickness, aging, death. And these are heavenly messengers. We need to hear them. We need to be listening. We need to have our eyes open and our hearts open. And the fourth heavenly messenger is a monk or a nun. It's someone living a celibate, reclusive life that's a full-on spiritual seeker. It's an archetype, and it carries a lot of power. And lastly, this timely discussion of the teachings. Again, this sequence, hearing them and then talking about them. And I just want to encourage everyone that no matter where you're at and how much you know of the Buddha's teachings, how much you've engaged with them, the Buddha says that it's helpful for our practice and sort of gives us this license and this encouragement to talk about the Dhamma. It's fine. It's it's not fine. It's like part of your practice. It's in the middle length discourses, Sutta number 33, and it's this simile the Buddha gives about this cowherd and these 11 things that a cowherd needs to do for his cows or their cows to be well, and then 11 things that a practitioner needs to do. I mean, that the simile is describing. And one of them is to, it's smoke out the sheds, is what the cowherd's supposed to do, but the practitioner is supposed to share what they've learned and what they've practiced so far at wherever they're at. And I just know I've been here now for 2.5 years, and of course I stand out with my outfit. And when I'm out and about in Canmore, when I first got here, I would sometimes people would stop, and often it would be in reference to Sanghametta, like, oh, are you Mary's nun? Or oh yeah, I know Mary Dumka has a minute. Are you there? And now when I'm out and about, it's quite different. I'm usually people are coming up to me or interacting with me that know someone in the community that is coming to the group, and and it's clear that this person, there's several examples. I won't go into them. It's clear that the community members are talking about what's going on, like what they're learning and how it's beneficial. And these people invariably, they know that the meeting's on Tuesday nights. The most recent person knew it was Tuesday nights and Friday morning, and they always look at me and they're like, "Yeah, I really should come," or Tuesday nights, at what time? And probably they'll come, like maybe months or years from now. They're like me at 17, like not quite ready. May they not wait 30 years. But yeah, and it's exciting. I mean, it's happening. It's happening that people are doing this, and it's really good and encouraged by the Buddha. So I'll end there on that happy note.
Andamayandamagataya sadhu karandaramase. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.